Growing up, my mom was an English teacher. We read a lot of books. And my favorite book was The Little Engine That Could. So let's talk about the little engine this episode, the use of self as a therapist. That is really what drives the EFT process.
Welcome to the Leading Edge in Emotionally Focused Therapy with your hosts, Dr. James Hawkins and Dr. Ryan Rana. EFT is a dynamic model that humbles even the most seasoned therapists. Together, we want to come alongside you as you continually push the leading edge of your understanding and application of this wonderful model developed by Dr. Sue Johnson.
Yeah, maybe this episode maybe skews this way because I appreciate Ryan as a friend and colleague, just really helping me to recognize that this is kind of like a place where all of us have a way where we do EFT from, it can feel like a different pocket or a different way. Use of self is one of my default go-to places to use in the model. And that really works for me. And so I want to use this today. What we're going to be talking about is how to use you as a tool in the room. Like so many times we could look for, give me another intervention, give me more language, and that matters, or a new model or whatever, or a new book. But I think sometimes what we've made the mistake, we overlook the most valuable tool in the process, and that's you as a therapist.
Yeah, therapists can sometimes be like that little engine. And to be honest with you, I don't remember the story, which might speak to my comprehension problems. Let's just don't tell my mom. But it had something to do with that little engine not believing that it could and then figuring out that it could. And us therapists are like that a lot of times. We want something fancy. We want this fancy intervention. I won't mention other models, but they have fancy interventions in therapy. Like, okay, I can trust that, which means I don't really trust me. I don't really trust that I have the juice here to get this done, which then puts you in your protection mode automatically. So self is such a huge piece of this. We take a little bit of criticism, not too much, a little bit of criticism at successandvulnerability.com, which we'd love to have you visit us there, and on our podcast, because we try to make EFT as clear as possible. We try to be a little bit, or more than a little bit, clarifying of the tactics. And so that can come across like it's some kind of new model. It's like, no, we're not doing anything new. We're actually trying to have bridges of clarity so that you can use self more. And let's be clear, the self of the therapist is really what made EFT. From Sue down through the original people on the team, Allison Lee, Gail Palmer, into that second generation of trainers early on, which are now a lot of names, and third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh generation of trainers, to a fault almost. A lot of times trainers, myself included at times, we are operating so much from using self, we don't even know what we just did. And someone has to help us with that. And that's, good and bad, because that makes it hard to replicate. And then if we're not careful, that makes this a guru kind of thing. We're like, ooh, the trainer or whoever is the cool person, the rest of us suck. And, that's not good.
That's right.
And it's not true.
That's right.
And but let's be clear, the self is really the engine of EFT, meaning the therapist has an attachment system. And in that attachment system, it's the most natural thing in the world to proximity seek and create secure bonding. So left unblocked, your body will take you home, so to speak. And that, you need to learn the model and learn the map so that you can forget it. And then what you want to do is then let the vibe and the attunement in the moment activate what needs to happen when. But this is very instinctual. It's supposed to be instinctual. So I certainly wouldn't want our projects to come across otherwise. What I find, though, is if you can't hold on through some blocks and through some protection moves, you don't get to use those beautiful instincts. But I also want to be clear, it actually is the instincts that your body lets you know that, when I feel it, is when it's time to go. That's what Gail Palmer answers that question. How do you know when it's deep enough? Listen to your body. Does it move you? Well, not really. Okay, then stay there longer. But if it breaks your heart, that's your body saying, here we go. Mm-hmm. It's time to help this person go find their herd again. And so this, your sensations, your emotional system, your instincts are really the driving engine of this whole thing.
Man, thank you, Ryan. And I want to come into that. I like that phrase. If left unblocked, your instincts, this kind of your attunement can take you on home. I think that's true. I think, when I think about people that struggle sometimes with whether learning EFT or being able to get certified in EFT, it's not that they're not smart people. They are smart. They've got they've all got graduate level education, right? So they've proven that they have academic aptitude, ability to learn something and complicated things. Where it's when they get into that distress at times, they lose access to self, or even sometimes, and I like what you were saying, Ryan, we don't always do a good job of training people to use self. So much so to, like, shameless plug here. That's why Chad Imhoff and I are doing like the self of the therapist. We're not trying to this is not a self of the therapist focused on, let's go back to your childhood trauma and Chad and I are going to be your group therapist and walk you through it. No, the basis of our model of what we do in our training, which it is coming up on August 17th and 18th, but the basis of it is just helping therapists learn what happens to them in crucial moments of therapy, what happens inside their body, and how can they, our term is to be able to say, I got this, and get themselves back on track is what we're trying to do. So did you have something there, Ryan?
No, I'm just going to agree. And, protection in all its forms, it always makes sense. It's just human to protect yourself and or protect the relationship. You got two clients and a therapist all in protection mode. Mm-hmm. That's what happens when sessions are going bad.
There we go.
There's nothing else.
All right.
All the chaos, all the escalation, it's just manifestations that pick a word here, my pursuer is in protection mode. My withdrawer is in protection mode. And I'm also might be in my protection mode. So it's a great thing that what you and Chad are doing. I highly encourage you to check out that work, because that's one of the things that they do, mm-hmm. is to encourage and organize how your protection system comes online. How, why, exactly, yeah. How to notice it, how to intervene with it, kind of a parallel process to what we're doing.
And how to use it, not to shame it either. Your protection came online because something triggered it in right. You with Ryan's vivid somatic trigger. Something happened in that room that your attachment system said, danger, danger, danger. Pay attention to it, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So what we're going to do, let's take a break, and we're going to come back and kind of go maybe get a little bit more practical with talking about this using yourself as a therapist. You are invited to the Arkansas EFT externship, July 25th through the 28th, here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. If you'd like to register, you can go to arkansaseft.com.
Yeah, we would love to have you. We always encourage people to train in their local areas. So that's our first priority, our first choice. But we would love it if you consider training with us as your second choice. Maybe you've not done an externship yet, and we'd love to host you here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And if you have done an externship and maybe you want to review and repeat, we offer 25% off of the professional rate for repeaters for externship. And externships are great everywhere. The trainers do an amazing job. I'm a little partial to the ones at home. This is a family reunion. Our supervisors and facilitators are some of the most caring, safe people on the planet. And this is kind of the mothership, by the way, of the origin in some ways of this podcast, successinvulnerability.com. This is where we develop some of our material. So we would love to have you join us in Fayetteville, Arkansas for the EFT externship.
Yeah, and I just like to talk about like kind of how externship made a difference for me. I had been a practicing clinician for a while. I had read about EFT. But I'll tell you this, reading about EFT and, taking like one-off courses, in some kind of offshoot, programs here and there, it was not the same as going to an externship at all by any means. For 4 intensive days, sitting not only with like George and Ryan were the ones that led mine, but also, you're right, our community. So George and Ryan did a really good job of making it experiential, practical. And then with the facilitators, I got to hear different styles, different voices, different types of presence in the room. So what it did for me, I felt like it really helped rejuvenate my career. I think it added a few more years to my career because things got clearer. It made sense of the difficulty I was facing, and it wasn't because, as I was joking, we were in a Self of the Therapist training, and the therapist said, all roads always lead to I suck. I found out it's not because I suck all the time. It's because people in emotional and relational distress just get really, the mistrust can take over and they get stuck, and that's where we get paid to help them at. So I just would say, man, if you want to have a good time doing something that's hard with a bunch of people who are willing to do something hard with you, come to Arkansas EFT externship July 25th through the 28th.
Yeah, consider coming and training with George Fowler and myself. We're hoping that, I think James is on the road, but we're hoping that we can arm wrestle him a little bit and get him to come make a cameo with us as well. So come join us. It'll be lots of fun.
All right. Well, welcome back. So this is what Ryan and I are going to do. We figure we're talking about this use of self thing. Well, we're asking for some vulnerability from you to do that. So we want to lead out with some vulnerability here, kind of sharing our process about using ourselves. But I don't know, maybe I'm going to throw it on to Ryan first here, because he told a story one time. I can't remember if it was an externship or core skills now, that really it's always stuck with me about, I won't even lead into, I'll let Ryan tell it.
Did y'all see what just happened?
Yeah, I'm a good withdrawer move, buddy. Good withdrawer move.
That was an object lesson for the listeners. Nice job, James. You're like, we're going to be vulnerable, but Ryan's going to go first. I love it. Now, a quick story. I think I've said this on this podcast before, but it won't hurt to say it again. True story. I really admire a lot of the trainer team. Too many to name. Love them and admire them. But I'm a big fan of Gail Palmer for whatever reason. Probably because she can do something that I really can't do. You know how the point guard always wants to be the center, and the center wants to be the point guard. She's really introverted, but somehow doesn't lose focus. And at this point in my career, I don't have the ability to do it. So anyway, I'm a new trainer. I'm trainer in training. The intimidating process of trying to get not only to be good at EFT, but to be extreme levels of. I had to cough. That's what happened right there. Anyway, so when you're a trainer in training, you have to do a live demonstration in front of a group. And then, at least at that point, Sue Johnson herself had to watch it and sort of graduate you. And her standards are not low. So it's sort of terrifying anyway. So, I'm just preparing, back when I did probably a little more preparing than I do now for live demonstrations. And I go in. Some good stuff happened. I kind of lost attunement. I kind of got a little disoriented. We probably completed a mission. It was good for the relationship, for the couple. It benefited them, but it wasn't near the standard that I want to have happen. And afterwards, Jim Farrow was there. He was watching me, and he's a mentor of mine. Still is, really, but it was an official mentor at that point. And he was nice. He's like, hey, you did some good things there, you think? I'm like, I didn't die. That's good. And he's like, no, it's good. And he's like, hey, tell me what you were trying to do right there. And I'm like, honestly, man, I was trying to not use so many words. I was trying to do it more like a Gail Palmer style, where she just sort of internally processes and waits until this beautiful moment and just jumps in. That keeps it on track. And I was just trying to use less words. And a lot of professors around the country teach that in therapy, which I think is a bit dangerous. So anyway, I said to him, I was trying to be like Gail. I was trying to use less words. And Jim, who really doesn't respond this way very often, says, don't ever do that again. I'm like, okay. And he goes, look, man, here's the deal. This is about attunement. So you got to do what you do to get into attunement. You got to be more fully you. And I think that's true at multiple levels, by the way, which we can come back to. But he goes, I notice how you are around the refreshment thing, which he may have been commenting on how much I eat at trainings. I don't know. But he's like, you use a lot of words. You use a lot of humor. You're a really playful guy. And that's what you do to connect with people. So I got to see that in your sessions. You're not Gail. You can't be Gail. Quit trying to be Gail. You got to be more fully Ryan. And that was a good lesson for me. And everything I'm saying is just as true for you. And I'm not a fan of trying to manipulate how many words you use. That's why I think, you want me to share a little more, James?
You can. Well, I guess I don't want to. Since I put you on the spot and put your vulnerability, I'm supposed to join you now.
I don't know.
All right. So I think mine really comes in this way where I'll put myself in. Why this matters to me, you can get so caught up in trying to, and I'll get so outcome based, and then or either like perception of the client of me, or definitely as a trainer, perception of the group of me, and that would then take away the style of how James shows up. I'll never forget Ryan and I were in Memphis, and I go down to meet Ryan in the lobby, and we're just kind of talking. And you had to remind me of like, hey, James, and you kind of gave me the same Jim Furrow talk. Like, when you're just kind of hanging with people, you're just kind of really relaxed, James. You're just kind of smooth and you're just kind of mellow. Like, I just need you to go in there in the first part of this live. I just need you to be that James. And then just whatever happens next. But for 20 minutes, can you just let James be in the room? And I was like, whoa, that was big. And now I think why that matters to me is, that's a rule for life, really, is to show up with the best parts of me, not only in my therapy room, but with my own wife and with my girls and with my community and with my colleagues here. And also, when I'm in the therapy room, my clients didn't just pay for an expert. They paid for James in a way, right? And who he is and the style that he brings. And so that's just been a huge part for me. And I can see my work has grown exponentially now. My level of attunement. And even when I get lost, I love telling people in the group, like when I do lives, I was like, in this live, I'm going to get lost, but I'm going to tell you when I get lost. When we come back out, I'll tell you when I got lost and how I got it back. I just feel like the game is so much more open for me now that I can trust my instincts. I don't know. So that's big to say. And I'll just tell this, like a great group out in North Carolina that works with Dr. Lori Watson, the Awakenings, great group of therapists out there. And these therapists, I appreciate their vulnerability, Ryan. When I told them that they could use themselves in the therapy process, and that there was this live I did there, and the guys, he touched me, and I almost began to weep with him, right? Like a tear came in my eye in the live, which is not normal. Mm-hmm. And they were like, they started crying, right? Like, no one ever told us that we could use ourselves in the therapy room. And that feels so good to me to know that I can use myself. And by the way, it touched my heart that it was 3 Black women just saying like, I am so touched to know I can use myself in the therapy room. Anyway.
Not just that you can, you have to.
That's right.
EFT really won't work without this. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have tons of tears all the time. People have different ways of being with people. But if you're like trying to control yourself too much, for sure. I can live with if you're actually trying to control your clients. And what I mean by that is you got to be willing to be the stronger, wiser other when things are going sideways. But you can't have tons of self-control. You got to let it go.
That's right.
You got to bring it forward. So I used to be a coach, and so we would recruit players. And it doesn't matter what sport, baseball, but it doesn't make any difference. It'd be the same in anything. And they would say, hey, coach, here's my stats. And that was virtually worthless to me because I didn't really want to know how good of a player you were when things were going your way or when you're playing competition that wasn't that good. I want to know what kind of player you are when the chips are down and the pressure's on and you're behind and you feel like you're failing because that's who you really are. I hate to say that. I wish that wasn't true, but it is true and for therapists as well. So self of the therapist wise for me, in my personal relationships, I've spent a significant amount of time as a withdrawer and as a pursuer. A lot, actually, which, I think sometimes it changes a little bit with age and how your relationship's going. But I've been both. But for me, when the chips are down, when chaos is there, I can be a little confrontational. And so that's something I've had to notice because I'm actually not a confrontational person. I do not want to fight you. I don't want to argue. I live in the South. Someone starts talking about religion or theology. I get sleepy. Even though I care about that, I don't want to fight with you. That's tiring for me. So that's a little withdrawal that comes out. But I also have experiences in my life, especially around in sports, which is, that when the game's on the line, sometimes you I'm thinking about football now. You accelerate and you create contact, and that makes a difference. And I'm not a violent person at all. Never even been in a fight. But I notice under a lot of pressure, I'll start kind of pointing out what you're doing wrong. And that's something I have to pay attention to. And I'm not even saying that's bad all the time. Sometimes, because I'm always trying to frame the cycle as the enemy. Mm-hmm. But I'm also I will point out that, hey, this behavior, while it makes sense, you will not get better. Like, that's not possible. So I start pointing that out, and I start going, that's a strong response, right? Are you playing football right now? Or are you an EFT? So that's me being transparent. Mm-hmm. Of what happens for me when the chips are down, when the chaos is going on, when we're behind. I tend to accelerate in one way or another to try to get us back on track, perhaps for better or for worse. What do you do, James?
No, 100%. If I feel like the session is slipping, my go-to is I will try and coach you up and like kind of get you to do this thing. Because what I'm trying to do is protect what I felt like is the good work I've been trying to do. Or, come on, man, don't let this thing go south. I almost like start fighting for my client more than they're fighting for themselves. Like, come on, I want you to have a good day when you go home. Just finish the mission here. Please respond. Please respond. Or I can go against the pursuer sometime. Like, I'm getting you to share this. Please don't be critical. And like, even if they like trying to fix their words for them and that kind of thing, I'm like, wait a minute, James, you just got upregulated right there. And that's that part of me. I think that is the withdrawal part of me of I want to perform well,
right?
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And not really, and wanting them to stay in a positive place.
Yeah. And what happens on the inside of you in that place? Like what inner state drives that to talk them into it?
Ooh, anxiousness. Mm-hmm. I feel anxiousness just begin to like burn and get warm inside my chest. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can even feel it right now.
100%.
Where is it in your body?
A little bit over to the right.
In your chest?
Yes, it is.
You pointed to your chest.
Yes, I sure did.
You couldn't see that. All right. So you catch some kind of signal that the session's going off track. What is that signal?
Oh man, I could just see like the other partner, like they just get deflated. Like it's like the one that picks out the most is like their eye rolls and they just throw their head back and their hands go up.
So when a client becomes exasperated, almost like mocking the process,
yep,
your body picks up on that.
Yep,
because it sends you the message that what?
You are failing, James. We paid you to do this, and you're getting nowhere.
Yeah, and James don't like to fail.
Nope.
Ryan doesn't either. We probably needed some group therapy on that. All right, so you see them be exasperated, annoyed with or mocking with the process.
No, annoyed is a good word. That's not annoyed.
All right, when your client's annoyed, all right, your body really activates
100%.
because that sends you the message which says, James is failing. You're not good at this. And on the inside of you, it's a very anxious place.
100%.
And your body starts to speed up.
Yep.
You feel it on the right side of your chest.
Yep. It's like moving up in my vocal cords now.
And what do you find yourself doing from that place?
Trying to really lean in and give some assurance, put a positive spin even on what feels like negative words. I'm trying to rescue the situation.
Yeah. And all that makes sense, man. And what's the result of that? How does that land on your clients?
I miss the tune.
Oh, okay.
I miss the tune. I can feel it. Like there are some times like maybe I feel like it's like I'm digging myself out of the grave in a way, but it misses the tunes, man. And then if I feel incongruent, like, why did you do that, James? Like, what are you doing? Oh gosh, now you need to apologize for that. Okay. Why couldn't you just apologize and say, hey, I missed something there. Can we go back?
Okay. Feels incongruent. You almost feel guilty.
Yeah. Kind
of mad at yourself.
Yes.
And that's impressive that one of your action tendencies right there is to apologize. Is that because you're just like this great person, or because you were trained to do it that way?
Trained. I had to train my limbic system that was because almost if I have to apologize, then that really means I'm failing.
Yeah.
I messed up. It's like a doctor saying like, hey, I was supposed to cut off the right leg, but while you were under anesthesia, I took the left. And it's embarrassing. But being able to apologize, it feels like, for me, it took a lot of trust. that I don't kind of lose credibility by doing that. Actually, and now being able to take that risk, you're like, oh, you actually gain credibility, which is kind of blowing my mind a little bit.
All right. Well, I hope the listeners identified what we just did right there. That's me doing an assembly.
That's right.
With James's instinct when things go off rails in session, I would highly encourage you with somebody else to do your own assembly, or attend James and Chad's training in August, where they're going to do a lot more of that and more specifically. Yeah.
100%. Right. Man, you got me to be really vulnerable there. You paid me back for you going first.
I did. Yeah, I did. You want to do mine?
Sure.
All right.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
So, Ryan, help me understand here. You know, you might be going along in session. You started off kind of smooth, but kind of like help me know, like, what is it at a moment that where things shift and Ryan's like, it ain't going so good here. Like, what is the first thing Ryan notices?
Yeah. Well, I would first just say that's changed over the years.
Okay.
You know, there was a period of time. I mean, I taught my first course on EFT in 2004. And then I got serious about it in 2009 and so forth. But there was a time when lots of blocks would really irritate me. And I finally got myself to where I see that coming most of the time, so it doesn't bother me. Okay. What I find that happens, there's several things, but the most prominent one is when someone is very sarcastic towards their partner. Like that activates my body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like an edge, like they're stupid. They're idiots, you know, or whether they're actually using those words or whether you can feel that in the room.
Okay, so that's the thing that gets Ryan going, when there's that edge of sarcasm that sends a message. What is the message that sends you when you hear that edge of sarcasm?
Yeah, not dissimilar from you, that I'm failing or about to fail. I think more specifically, though, someone's about to be really injured, right? And the process is not going to work. And, you know, a little bit of sense of, Ryan, you're stupid. You know, so kind of a combination of 3 or 4 of those attachment messages, that I take in.
Well, I appreciate that about you, Ryan, because one thing, if y'all don't know Ryan, he doesn't want to fight, but Ryan will protect. He will protect people. And so that's what kind of even the first one that hits you when I ask about the messages, I'm trying to protect people here. And then right behind that now, is it not only trying to protect the people that, you know, kind of hired Ryan to help them, then it sends a message that he's failing. And it kind of comes in this very veiled, sarcastic kind of way, in a way, right? Whew. And then when that hits you, though, and you get that message, Ryan, what does that even kind of bring up in you right now as you even picture the edge of sarcasm?
Yeah, definitely speed up. Definitely upper chest for me. Yeah, sort of. So some anger. I don't know if anger is a good word, but irritation. Yeah, my body's saying do something and do it quickly. To not let this bad thing continue to happen.
Okay.
And then probably some forms of fear underneath that of what if I don't, or if it goes bad, you know, those sort of things. Yeah.
No, I really appreciate that. Your body wants to speed up and get in there and take care of it really quick, because you're afraid if I don't take care of this quick, something bad could happen there.
And I've seen it happen. Like a slot machine, just enough times to make you think it's going to happen again.
There you go. And that's where it's hard, right? Where it's been reinforced enough in you to tell you, like, hey, there is a danger here and you need to take care of it, right? You can't just let this go by.
Yep.
Okay. I really appreciate that. But can I stay there with you? Because, like, I mean, it's a little bit different now, maybe, but like when you kind of feel that happen and that it starts happening in your chest and you feel that part where you're speeding up there, what have you learned to do with that part of you now in that process when that sarcasm comes out?
Oh, that was a different question I thought you were going to ask. What have I learned to do now?
Sorry, take your time, man.
You mean me tell you what I used to do or do now or both?
We'll go both.
Okay.
I like
so,
that.
well, you already said it. I have my primary instinct in my whole life. I could be wrong because no one's really self-aware. We like to pretend we are, but it's protection.
Yep.
I have very strong, too strong protective instincts. Might be because most people in my family have a military history or something, but I definitely have that in me to be protective. And so what I would formerly and still sometimes do is kind of not real direct, but well, depends on how you define direct. I would just point out hypocrisy.
Okay.
I would just say, something like, yeah, that's totally awful what happens right there. And that's what they do, just like you. So kind of a little barbed piece to say, hey, back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Your partner's just as stupid as you are. It's kind of how that comes across, even though I don't believe anybody's stupid. But that's what I would do. With mixed results, I don't think that's necessarily horrible if you come back and repair.
That's right.
And I do think that sometimes people don't even know that they're doing it. And so sometimes some response, which is sort of like pushes back, is to awaken them can be a good thing. But I don't know that I would, it's not my preferred way to do it.
100%.
Yeah. So now I'm going to interrupt, and I know people hate hearing this, but I'm going to just really, really blame the cycle. Did it just happen? Hey, can you two notice what just happened? Your body almost came off the couch right there. Could you feel it speed up?
Mm-hmm.
You were doing this great job of sharing with me and putting your, more your authentic heart. And then something happened for you and you sped up in the moment. Could you feel that? So I try to go meta, try to go process, which actually helps me calm down as well.
And I appreciate you doing that, though, Ryan. And that's the way to use you when it hits you, because there is a protection that needs to happen there for both of them. One, I can't let you keep using this edge of sarcasm, sending a horrible message to your partner who I've asked not to interrupt and sit over there and let them keep getting punched in the face. But also, I need to protect you. This is a line I've stole from Ryan, because if they keep using the edge of sarcasm, if they care about their partner, they're going to feel a little bit bad about that. So you got to jump in and not let them do that to themselves or to their partner. So I appreciate how you found a way to take your protective instinct and to use it in a way to help kind of keep the therapeutic process going.
Yep. I appreciate the validation.
You're welcome, Ryan.
Yeah, man.
And, even as you see me and Ryan do that, what our hope is, and maybe this episode, like I like where it went, it turned into like a really SOT, but also when that part of you gets triggered, how do you know how to use that part of you? Not shame it and make it go away. Because I need to be able to activate. In my life, I'm a withdrawer. So I need some times where I do activate and want to move forward because there's a threat and I want to do something. Ryan needs to be able to have a way to respond when that sarcasm comes in and he wants to protect. He needs to have a move to use that because it didn't get triggered for no good reason. There's a real valid reason why it came up. It's just, can he find a way to use it in a therapeutic way? And so we hope that you can study your process. Another plug, I'll put the show note in the show notes, but this is what me and Chad are going to spend 2 days going over with therapists in some of the most critical parts of whether it's right in between enactments, when a block comes up, all kinds of scenarios. And we just keep running therapists through cycles. And what we joke is we want you to leave with a little notebook of saying, I studied my process and this is my playbook on me as a therapist. And it's not about your playbook for your client either. It's your playbook about you. So how to know how to use you in certain situations and scenarios. Yeah,
because EFT really doesn't make any sense without it.
100%.
It's too experiential. It's too intuitive. And I certainly want my therapist to fill out that notebook because you can't bring your full self without it. So there's your plug.
There you go. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you all for listening. Appreciate you.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about a unique resource here. And we don't do this very often, and we're doing it for two reasons. One, I believe in what they're doing. And two, there's 4 people involved here that are near and dear to my heart and have really invested and served me and the community lately. So James and I get a fair amount of contacts, actually, of people saying, will you see me? Or can we get in? And it's oftentimes it's actually therapists who are struggling in their own relationships who are like, do you do intensives? And most of the times the answer for us is no, I don't have room. So let me tell you about a great resource and something that's unique. We have 4 people in the Arkansas community who are going to do couples therapy in the form of group. So they're going to work 4 couples at a time. And with 2 EFT therapists, a male-female team. And we have one of these folks who's really an expert in that model. He did it for years somewhere else. And then all 4 of the EFT therapists are really expert level folks. 2 of them are certified in EFT and certified supervisors. The other two are excellent. They just haven't formalized going through certification. So really in great hands here. And they have openings. Maybe you and your partner need this, or maybe you have clients who need this. They're not taking super severe cases. They need to be stable enough to work towards a goal, and work in a group. But May 18th through the 20th, 2023, May 18th, 19th, and 20th, there are openings for 4 couples, and they get roughly 18 hours of therapeutic work. And the cost is $2,600, which also covers breakfast and lunch each day and a Zoom call in preparation in advance. So it's really, if you start thinking about the math with that, that's pretty cheap for what you're getting. This first one is by EFT or ICEEFT Supervisor Lisa Schroyer and Dr. Jeff Reddick. And I can't tell you how much I believe in that. They're going to start doing this on a regular basis, and we just want to give them a shout out. If that's a need for you or someone please reach out. The contact information will be in the show notes today, but it's Jeff at thejoshuacenter.com. So it's GEOFF at thejoshuacenter.com. So we would love for you to connect with them.
Thank you for listening. We hope this experience helps you push the leading edge in your work to help people connect with themselves and with each other. Please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a 5-star review. You can contact us at pushtheleadingedge@gmail.com, and you can follow us on our Facebook page at Push the Leading Edge. You can follow Ryan on Facebook at Ryan Rana Professional Training, and on his website, ryanranatraining.com. You can follow James on Facebook and Instagram at dochawklpc. You can also check out his website, dochawklpc.com.